On April 23, 2019, Nirmal Purja snapped a photo of a human traffic jam near the summit of Everest. It wasn't just a picture. It was a scandal that exposed the brutal reality of the death zone. But while the world was debating the ethics of high-altitude tourism, Nims was already looking at the next peak, and the next, and all 14 of them. But to understand how he planned to do what others said was impossible, we have to rewind. Nims wasn't born into a life of luxury. He grew up in Dana, a remote village in Nepal. Electricity was a luxury. Shoes were a luxury. He didn't even see a mountain peak until he was a teenager. His life was defined by survival. He joined the British Armed Forces, eventually becoming part of the SBS, the Elite Special Boat Service. This was the crucible. He spent 16 years learning to master pain. He learned that the mind breaks long before the body does. These weren't just military missions. They were the training ground for the greatest mountaineering feat in history. By 2019, he had a vision. Project Possible. The goal was to climb all 14 of the world's 8,000-meter peaks in 7 months. The previous record? Nearly 8 years. The establishment laughed. They called him crazy. They said he was reckless. But Nims didn't have a corporate sponsor. He didn't have a massive team. He had a house he was about to lose. He remortgaged it to fund his first few peaks. He was betting everything. His entire life. His future. He had no choice but to succeed. The pressure was immense. Every step on Annapurna was a gamble. But he wasn't just climbing for himself. He was climbing to show the world that Nepali climbers were not just guides. They were the masters of the mountains. Then, the turning point. During his ascent of Annapurna, he found a climber left for dead by other teams. Most would have kept going. The clock was ticking. Every second on the mountain is a second closer to death. But Nims stopped. He led a daring rescue. He carried the man down. It was a statement. He proved that human life mattered more than any record. This wasn't just about speed, it was about heart. He crushed the first phase of his project, then the second, then the third. He was moving faster than any human in history. He was ignoring the rules of oxygen, the rules of pacing, the rules of fear. By the time he reached the final peaks, the world was watching in silence. He wasn't just climbing. He was rewriting the history of human endurance. 6 months and 6 days. That was it. He did the impossible. He stood on all 14 peaks while the world stood still. But the story didn't end there. In 2021, he led the first team to summit K2 in winter. A place that had claimed so many lives. He walked where no one dared to walk. Nims Dai proved that limits are just stories we tell ourselves. He turned the sport of mountaineering on its head. He brought the focus back to the people who actually live in the shadows of these giants. He showed us that when the world tells you to stop, you just push harder. What is your own mountain? And are you ready to climb it? If you want to hear more stories about the people who defy reality, hit that subscribe button. We have a new journey waiting for you every single week. See you in the next one.